Hello, everybody. Welcome to the tavern. As always, I'm your host, Brandon, and we're guest host tonight, or co-host with Landon tonight. How are you, sir?
Oh, we're just living the dream. If the dream was the nightmare on Elm Street.
Absolutely. And our special guest tonight is Miss Eleanor Wagner. How are you?
Great. Thank you so much for having me.
We are glad to have you here. Uh, if you wouldn't mind, could you give our guests a little bit of a backstory of who you are, what you do, and why it's going to be amazing to talk to you tonight?
Sure, I would love to. I'm actually an author. My first story was a psychological thriller when I took a turn and started writing about true account hauntings in the community where I live, which ultimately led me to become a paranormal investigator, founding a paranormal team, and then starting my own podcast. So I have a live podcast about paranormal activity and a pre recorded one as well.
Nice. So, what would you say prompted you to want to go down this journey and, start dealing with the paranormal in a more professional manner?
I never had any intention of doing it professionally whatsoever. I've been
Really?
seeing spirit, really, I've been seeing spirit since I was a kid. And so I was always fascinated with ghost stories. That's something that started early on. Then, when I was 30, when my gift was reawakened the day my dad died, it made me educate myself and learn more about the paranormal and what my gifts were and what I should do with them. And because I'm a writer, it made sense to be able to go that route, to tell the ghost story, get their message out there, what they want people to know. So, what I do is I tell people about the history of the town that I'm writing about. I talk about the history of the location that is haunted. And then I tell the ghost story, and the people that live in the home who are looking for help because they're living with these spirits and they don't know what to do with it, I tell the audience what they're going through. Those true count haunting stories that people just love to hear around the campfire. And then the need for me to start this paranormal team happened. And when my paranormal team gets into one of the locations, I get to tell the readers what we unearthed during our investigation. So it never really was an intention of mine to take it to the level of doing this as a profession. It was just something that fell into my lap. It was
Wow.
something I enjoyed doing. I'm gifted. It was a hobby. And the next thing I knew, it was a full blown new career at the age of 50. It started when I was 50. So
That's
now
pretty
I'm
cool.
57. So
So
yeah.
you've got 7 years professional experience, but truly a lifetime of experience.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I've dabbled in educating myself and trying to figure out what it is that I have. So I guess you could say that that was really when things started to take off, because I've met so many people in the field
Oh yeah.
that have 40 years, 50 years of experience that were able to actually help me to grow.
I
And when you're around people who have similar gifts, when you have that positive energy, you feed off of each other. You really, that energy is amazing and powerful things happen. I never believed it until I experienced it myself.
it's funny you actually know a friend of ours that we had on this podcast, Chris Sumner,
Yep.
Soul Sisters Paranormal.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep. Love her. She's great.
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
she is. She's
Crystal's
very
awesome.
wonderful.
She's
Yeah, she's
wonderful.
been on my show too, and then we've co-hosted on other shows together with other paranormal investigators. She's a great gal. Love her.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
She
very
had
personal and
some
friendly.
right? She had some wild stories, man. She's seen some things.
Yep, I I don't necessarily see spirits, but I have the feeling. And when they're close enough by, if I open myself up to it, uh, I get that telepathic communication, if you will. Does that make sense? But it's not usually what I like to do,
Absolutely, sure does.
because it makes my body feel weird. And there's some times where I'm like, all right, I have time, I could deal with this. But a lot of times when it happens, it's a bad time, and I'm like, ah, I just need you to go away.
I get like a drunk feeling. I'm off balance. I feel like I'm drunk when a spirit is nearby, and I can usually tell if it's good or if it's bad. And I don't say bad in like a demon sort of way. I mean
Right.
just nasty and mean, because if they were shitheads in life, they're shitheads in death too. It's just
Right.
you take your personality with you. So,
I,
but I'm the same as you, Landon. I sense them in a certain way, and my body reacts to it.
so, what would you say your is your favorite part about doing paranormal work at all?
Oh, there's just so much to it, really. There's the camaraderie, meeting people in the field that are like minded, because a lot of people tend to think that we're crazy because we talk about ghosts and seeing spirits. So when you're with a bunch of people that are like minded, who feel and experience the same thing that you do, and you help each other to learn and grow, it's just really a great feeling to be amongst like that. And then when you actually have something happen, I mean, these paranormal programs that you watch on TV are very unrealistic. A
Yep.
real paranormal investigation is not really like what they show you on TV.
Oh yeah, you know they got to spice it up. They got to make it to where something has to happen, or else the episode's just not. You know what I mean? There, so many smoke and mirrors they add to those things to try to
Entertainment. They got to entertain you, right? That's what it's
exactly.
all about. But when you go to a paranormal investigation, you could be somewhere for 6 hours and have nothing happen. So when you actually do have something happen, you feel like you're jumping up and down, because you're
That's
so
true.
excited that you actually got some great footage.
Very true. I know when we were talking with Chris, I had mentioned that when I was younger, me and a buddy of mine had to write a report for our history class. Well, we chose, since we live in Charleston, South Carolina, to go down and do a ghost tour and talk about some of the historic ghost tour stuff in downtown. And I snapped a picture, and while we're there, obviously I'm taking thousands of pictures because we're doing a report, so I've got to have everything for this. And when I was going back through all those photos later on, I had captured a picture of a spirit, and I sent her that picture, and to this day is the coolest picture I think I've ever captured, and it was totally by accident. That's the best part.
They were touring the old exchange
What's the
building
picture
in
of?
Charleston.
It's an actual like humanoid shape. So where I'm at, I'm in the old exchange dungeon, and there is a metal
Mm-hmm.
chain in front of me stopping me from going into this area, and I'm just taking a picture of it. And when I was there in person, there was nothing there. It was just like a circular archway, right? And a chain in front of me. I can't go down where that's at. Well, when you look at the photo afterward, you can clearly see the silhouette of a humanoid figure, and to me that's baffling.
Oh, I love that. And they say you should take pictures in succession anyway. Like if you're in a location, you go bing, 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 because something may show up in the first frame, but not in the second, or reverse.
Exactly.
And I got one of my greatest, actually, two of my greatest shots ever when I did a cemetery tour in my first year in 2019 when I was writing the first book. I was in a cemetery tour. I was just taking pictures like crazy in succession. And I probably went home with like 100 pictures. And most of them were like pitch darkness, because even though it was a full moon, everything was black. But I got a full blown apparition. Half of him came out in one frame, and a whole piece of him came out in the next frame. And then I got
Nice.
another ghostly spirit of a military guy
Ooh.
from the Civil War. So very cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I know that same night when we were in front of the gate leading to the cemetery where Edgar Allan Poe's ex-wife is buried, and we're standing in a semicircle, and there's a person in front of us that's telling us about what's behind us. And back then I had hair down to here, okay? I was long hippie dude. And
He
so
was.
Devin, which is my buddy, was next to me, and I'm next to him. And out of nowhere, something grabbed my hair and yanked my head back. I mean, my head fully got jerked back, and I'm like, "Dude, why did you do that?" And everyone else in the group is looking over at me, and they're like in shock. He's like, "Dude, I did not touch you." I'm like, "What?" And I mean, the whole crowd of people that's with us, there's at least, I don't know, 15 or 20 of us, and they're all just in shock because they watched my head just go, "Yeah." and that terrified me. So that was two things in one night, and I was like,
Oh,
this is
sure, I'll
not
bet.
cool."
Yeah, that same night that I was talking to you about, my
Mhm.
daughter was with me, and she's sensitive, but she's afraid.
Yeah.
But that night when we were in the cemetery, she got her hair tugged and her jacket tugged.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
I,
that's my sister too. So from my mom's side of the family, all the women have paranormal ability, and then on my dad's side, his grandfather, my great grandfather, was a shaman, and my dad said he can make tables walk. So we come from a lineage of that, and I'm a twin, and my sister has the same abilities that I have, but she doesn't want to pursue that, and she shut the door and locked the whole box up because she's afraid of what comes through. And I the first thing that I started
And bringing
training.
it home.
Right. Well,
She's
yeah.
the
afraid
first
to
thing
bring
that
it home. I know when I first started doing this, I was having night terrors because
Mhm.
I brought something home, and it almost feels like it's good sleep paralysis. It feels like they're on your chest, and you wake up and you can't move, and you can't even speak. Like the person that's sleeping next to you will hear you go, but you can't get the words out, even though you're screaming in your head. And it's terrifying, but I've had it happen to me before, so I was kind of used to it. But then when my daughter Cassidy was telling me she was waking up with them, it freaked me out. So I went and saged and salted and got protection, and I make sure that we're protected so I don't bring anything home anymore.
well, the first thing that I learned was shielding. Taking my spiritual energy and putting a protective barrier around myself, so that nothing could get in. You know.
Make sure you
Yeah,
grab
it's
all the
important
water on the way
to
home.
even say at the end, you can't come home with me. You're not allowed to come home with me. You have to stay behind.
Right.
And that usually works too. But sometimes you have a determined spirit. So if you have the extra protection, like I have stones that I wear protective oil. We do say they can't come. And in really rough situations where uh, there's a lot of negativity and thickness in it, we actually sage the whole team before we leave the grounds because
Smart.
um, you just want to make sure. You just want to make sure you don't bring anything home.
Oh, absolutely. That's like we have a place here in South Carolina called Crybaby Bridge. Have you ever heard of that?
Did you ask? I didn't. You broke out a
Oh,
little bit there. You
I'm
said something
sorry.
about in South Carolina.
Here in South Carolina, we have a place called Crybaby Bridge. Have you ever heard of that?
No, I have not.
So essentially, me and some buddies went. This has been years back now, and you go onto that bridge, and you cut your car off, and you get out of the car, and you put some flour or whatever on your bumper, and you get back in the car, and you wait, and you will feel the whole car get pushed. And that happened to us. Our entire vehicle just started rolling. You just sit there with it in neutral, hold power off of your vehicle, and you will roll forward. And when you get out, you will see handprints all over your bumper. It's terrifying.
No kidding. I was going to say, is it? I thought maybe it was like a gravitational pull or something, but it sounds more spiritual if there are
Yeah.
handprints on the back of your car.
I have no idea how or why that happens, but it's terrifying.
So, Brandon, do you remember the story behind that?
I don't. Do you?
I I want to say that the story is that a lady took her newborn child and threw her off the bridge or whatever, and I think it happened a lot. Um, I can't. It's been a long time since I
Yeah,
looked
we'll have
up
to
any of
look into
the
the lore of that. I know there was Light Road, which has since been demolished, and they've built, subdivisions and all that. But when we were kids, we had Light Road, and if you would go down this old trail and cut your lights off and stuff, you would see a ball of light that would just kind of follow you around. And it was supposedly that there was a lady whose husband, I guess, got killed during the Civil War, and she was out looking for him, and that's supposed to be her lantern. And you would see it's a weird because it's a ball of light, which is just strange. So
We have similar things like that in New Jersey. We have what they refer to as the hooker man. It's supposedly a man who lost his arm on the railroad, and you can see him walking with the lantern using his other hand. But it's the railroad goes through so many towns, so it's not specific just to Sussex County. People see it in Morris County, Passaic County, and they'll just drive there to see this light moving, and it's known to everybody that that the light's there. And then there's Clinton Road, which is considered, I believe it's, I want to say county, but Clinton Road is loaded with stories because of a ghost car. There was a mafia tie and bodies that were unloaded in the area and UFO sightings. So it's got a lot of history around it that everybody that travels the road tends to not only be frightened, but obviously come out with a story or two that they've experienced on their own from going there. Even residents that live in homes that are beside the road have a lot of activity, but I think that's Native American related.
Landon, tell her about the skull.
About the skull?
Or was it the rock? Or whatever it was that your dad brought home that one time?
Oh, so you know the I want to say it's the Cherokee casino, the Twin Wolves or something like that. Anyway, my dad, he was up there in Connecticut, I want to say it is. And he found these two little river rocks that are pretty much identical, with a little bit of differences, but they were the same. And Dad brought them home to us down here in South Carolina because of me and my sister. We're like the two twin rocks. And after that, we started getting a lot of paranormal activity in the house. I come to find out the casino was built on an Indian burial ground or something. I'm not 100% sure on that. But
I am not surprised that stuff started happening. Not surprised.
So my mom was being oppressed by this person in black robes with glowing red eyes. And, this Native American man ended up standing over my mom's bed all the time. And, when that Native American man was there, that evil spirit wasn't. So it's kind of like protecting the house or something. But Brandon and I, he muted my mic.
I think we lost him.
Anyway, Brandon and I, we went and we were getting into this paranormal activity stuff. And so we basically set up video cameras around the house to try and capture stuff. Well, we we weren't getting any luck the first night, and we lit this candle up, and we're like, oh, okay, well, if there's anything here, just make the candle go out. Being little teenagers, So nothing happened. We sat down for probably about 2 hours waiting on something. Didn't happen. We went into the living room to go watch some TV, and I came to the kitchen to get a piece of cake and realized that the candle went out. And we didn't pull the candle, we didn't blow the candle out by itself. So we freaked out. We're like, oh my God. So
well, anyway, you asked them to turn the candle out, right?
Exactly.
They gave you what you asked for.
Right, exactly.
We did an investigation about maybe like a month or so ago. In August, I did the Readers and Writers Festival in Milford, and this elderly woman approached me. She had purchased a book and she wanted me to sign it. And then she had said, do you still do paranormal investigations? And I'm like, yeah, all the time. Absolutely. So she said, well, I don't know if you're interested, but my husband and I live in a haunted apartment. And she said, and we're getting out as soon as we can. So if you want to come and do an investigation, you ought to do it quick because we're getting out as soon as we can. So I said, oh, great. I'm jumping at the opportunity. And she's telling me that it's not just her and her husband, it's the apartment upstairs and the apartment next door, that they lived in what was once a manor house that belonged to a mafia guy. And since then, it's been divided into apartments, but it's extremely active and very, very negative, causing behaviors in the people that live in the homes, illnesses. Her and her husband have gotten really sick. It was just really bad. So we were like, okay, we definitely want to get in there. And by the time we did get in there, the people that lived in the upstairs apartment were already gone. So we weren't
Mm.
able to even get into that place because they took off. And the turnover in this place was incredible. People didn't last in the apartments very, very long. But we did go into her and her husband's place. And you walk into this, it's a dream apartment. I mean, it was just like, oh my God, I love this place. But it was so heavy and thick and negative that would be the reason you wouldn't want to live there. And then we got into the apartment next door where there was two women that lived there. And it was just crazy. The animals were all hyper. The women were hyper. They were off the wall, and it was because of the spirits.
Right.
But we end up finding out that one of the women is extremely sensitive to spirits. She has been, which is also a draw that they know when you can sense them. So you're almost like a sponge for getting their attention. But she likes to do paranormal investigating herself, just on her own. And they ended up going to a haunted asylum. And I can't remember which one it was. I think it was in Connecticut. And she said while she was there, she decided to take home some souvenirs, kind of like what your dad did with the stones. And
That's a
so she
great idea.
she ended up taking an old patient's chart
Oh,
and children's chalk. And we were like, oh no, 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 no. From an asylum, you should, first of all, you should never take anything from anywhere, but never mind the asylum. So she's bringing
yeah.
this stuff home from this asylum into a home that used to belong to a mafia guy.
Mm.
Think about the negative energy between the two of them. Holy crap. So we were like, okay, well, this explains a lot. And we said, you really need to go back to that place and return the things that you took because you shouldn't have taken them in the first place. It's causing extra problems for you
Yeah.
here. But needless to say, when we got out of there, we had some really great footage from that investigation, but we did do a sage on the whole team because we got out of there and we were like wiped. It was crazy.
Well, after all of that happened, right? My mom made my dad, made us take the rocks outside. She figured maybe if they're outside, it won't come into the house anymore. And Brandon and I, we set up a video tape down the hallway where we've had activity happen, and it there's a mirror at the end of that hallway that's facing the camera, and it's the middle of the night. We're all asleep. You can hear Brandon and I going to bed, and you hear this like boom, 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 and then it stops, and then you hear footsteps coming up the stairs, right? And then the footsteps get closer. The drums start happening again, and then everything quits. Well, then in the mirror, right, you see like a hand come out of the mirror and grab the edge, and then it pulls itself up, and you see this like head and torso with the other hand, and then it points to the closet that's right across from my room. So we're, of course, we're watching all this the next day, freaking out, like, oh my God. And so we're like, well, what was it pointing at? Why is it pointing at that closet? So we went and tore that whole linen closet apart, found both rocks up at the top on the backside of the closet. And
Back in the house.
yeah, we didn't put them there. So
Mm.
when my dad came back home to visit, because he's working out of town, my mom made him put that in his truck and take him back to exactly where he found the rocks, and said, "Don't ever bring anything like that home ever again."
Smart lady. Yep,
Mhm.
exactly. Exactly.
So,
And I'm sure it stopped after he returned the rocks where they came from.
majority of it did. The black figure with the glowing red eyes didn't. That attacked my mom several different times. Pushed her down the stairs once. Scratched her while she was walking into the bathroom. I mean, she had gashes on her
Yep.
back.
I remember that.
Not like a cat would scratch you. I'm talking like something with a nice claw just raking her. And
Did she ever end up getting rid of it afterwards? Did she like get a shaman in the family to take care of it?
Well, not a shaman per se, but we smudged the house, and did some stuff, and I was in my spiritual side at the time too. So I was kind of doing my own thing on the down low, and it went away. I, I can't remember how long it took, but yeah, I tell you that it really freaked me out. I carved runes at the top of my door frame and stuff in my room to help protect and all the windows, to protect my room from anything, because I was like, not me, not today. Yeah.
I believe it. So I take it that you still do paranormal investigating. You guys, do you do this on a regular basis as well? By
This
you?
No, we don't.
when we were kids, we were super into it, all throughout like high school and stuff. But the older we got, we got jobs and families and just never
Yep.
got back into it. Not that we're not into it like mentally, like we love that stuff, but just never had the opportunity and time to get heavy into it, It's
Sure.
so what would you say is the pinnacle of your career so far? Like that big moment that you're never gonna forget because it was the coup de grace moment.
Oh my goodness. Well, we as a team did an investigation in the Sterling Hill Mines Museum in Ogdensburg, New Jersey, and I took the best footage from that night because we all had our cameras rolling and we were all taking photographs, and everyone ends up handing me over whatever footage that they get at the end, if they have evidentiary stuff too, because I like to share it on my website for the public to see after they read about it in the book. So they'll say, hey, I got this great EVP, or I got this spirit on camera, etc. So that we had such great stuff happen to us in the mines, and we all took a video of this mist that was interacting with us as a group and responding to our questions with it. It wasn't speaking, so to speak, but it was interacting with us, and you could clearly see that it was doing this. So I took the best footage from that night and sent it into Paranormal Court on camera, and they featured us on their show.
That's cool.
Which was that was really cool. And then I was in American Paranormal magazine this past April, so they featured me, and I put my paranormal team that was with me at the time in the article as well, because I got to submit a whole bunch of photographs and stuff like that. So everybody got to have their 15 minutes of fame, I guess
That's
you
pretty
could
cool
say.
though.
Yeah, so
Like,
that was those things were like really exciting to
I
happen to
believe
us.
it.
So, and
I'm
then of
excited for
course,
you.
being, thank you. Then, of course, just doing the podcasts, meeting so many different people and making all those connections in the paranormal world. It's just very exciting. It's something I never thought would happen. And so now that it has, I really do love it. And it's a lot of work. You guys know, you could
Oh
see
yeah.
that. I mean, a live show, you have to worry about making those errors live. And then the pre-recorded show, even though you can edit stuff out, it's a pain in the neck. It takes hours to edit a
Oh, absolutely.
pre-recorded show, but it's worth it in the end anyway.
I tell
Yeah,
you. Oh, go ahead, Larry.
it's funny that you say that about podcasting. When we started podcasting, I didn't know what to expect. I'm pretty outgoing in social situations usually, but podcasting is just I don't know. It made me really nervous, but the fact that we've gotten to speak to so many different people about so many different things is one of the greatest pleasures that I can say that I get from podcasting.
I kid you not. I was at work. It's been about, I don't know, 2, 3 weeks ago now, and we had done a show, and I was just thinking, man, how cool would it be to do what they do for a living? And a buddy of mine was like, well, you do something pretty cool. I was like, what? And he goes, you literally have had best-selling authors on your show. You've had paranormal investigators on your show. You've had psychics on your show. You've had Akashic workers. Like, you do pretty cool stuff, man. I was like, you know what? I do. That is pretty cool. And it gave me a new
That's right. Don't
perspective,
sell yourself short.
Yeah, it just put a cool perspective on it. Like, that is pretty sweet. It's humbling.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree.
So, what would you say is one of the top pieces of advice to give to newbies in your industry?
I think it's probably that they shouldn't trust what the programs on TV
Facts.
show you, because it's not like that, and that you should take caution. You should really be cautious about what you're doing and respectful to spirit. There's nothing worse than people that antagonize spirit, because
Ooh.
you should be doing it for spirit, not to antagonize. You should be trying to get their message out and helping them. We do try to get spirit to move into the light, because they're really stuck here, and it doesn't always work. But if you can, it's a great feeling to get them to move into the light. So, yeah, be cautious and considerate and kind and helpful to others, because there is a lot of drama in the paranormal world, believe it or not. So, you have to just
I've heard
respect
some
each other
stories.
and learn, be a sponge, learn. And when you have learned something, teach it to somebody else, pay it forward.
So, what would you say is three characteristics you would consider when hiring fellow teammates?
I It's funny that you should say that, because I've always trusted my gut, and
Mhm.
the older I get, the less I should trust it, because I think it's I think it's not working as well as it used to. The gauge is not working as
Mhm.
well as it used to. So I go to my daughter, and I say to her, "What do you think?" Because she's young and
Mhm.
she's fresh. So I trust her better than I trust my own gut anymore, because well, you learn from your mistakes. But what I think is really great is if somebody pitches themselves to me, because I want to know that you really want to do this, and that you have a drive to be here, so that you can show me that you want to be here. So when I have somebody that says, I don't have any ability, but I love being uh, the techie person, the person that's with the
Mhm.
equipment and stuff, because I just have this love of paranormal. And then they tell me, look, I got all this equipment, and this is what I want to do. Just please give me a chance. That to me means a whole lot, because they're making that effort to do it. And
Right.
that's actually worked out. That's actually, I've had people approach me like that, and then I'll run it by my daughter, and she'll be like, yeah, I get a good feeling about that. So those choices have come off really well. But some choices that I made in the beginning, I probably shouldn't have. And
Mhm.
like I said, there's that paranormal drama that happens, and it's like, oh my goodness, that's high school. I'm done with that. I don't,
Amen.
mm. And then I
Amen.
found out from talking to other people, and the paranormal, like, yeah, you got to watch out. People with paranormal, they step on your toes, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's
It's
awful. So
cutthroat.
yeah, no, I like the group that we have now is just really tight, and everybody helps each other out, and nobody thinks they're better than anybody else, and we all want to learn from each other and with each other. And that's really what I wanted from the get-go. I wanted people that were like that, and it took a little while to get there, but I think we finally made it. So
Well, I like that you say to trust your gut because,
Yes.
like Brandon, for example, he says that he reads the auras of people,
Yep.
and that's how he gets the sense of who they are and stuff. And I feel the vibrations of people, and that's how I get my sense of good and bad and stuff like that. Now,
Yeah, I
it's not
don't.
always 100% accurate, but it's about an 85%
Yeah, I
success
don't
rate.
have a whole lot of
intuition,
spiritual.
that intuition.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I don't have a lot of the spiritual abilities the way Landon does. But like that, my one thing is typically when I meet somebody. I mean, first of all, I feel that energy coming off of them. But I've learned that if I kind of if you've ever like drifted off and like almost like when people are like, "Hey, you okay?" and you were staring off into the distance, you're like, "What?" If I was so let's say I was looking directly at you, but I look through you, if that makes any sense. I can almost see the color of your aura around the edge of your skin, and depending on how bright that shines to me and what color it is, gives me a hint of is this person someone that I'm going to vibe with, because maybe they're too much for me, and maybe I don't need to be around that energy, or maybe that's a very good
Right.
positive energy that I've already associated myself with before, that I'm like, okay, you're a good person. So
Oh, I love that. And then you could probably tell from their aura if they're genuine or not as well.
it's
I would
definitely
imagine.
helpful.
And together
That's
we
great. I
make
love that.
Wonder twins, you know.
We're cosmic twins.
Yeah, that's usually what it is. Yeah. We've been best friends and blood pack brothers since we were about 10 or 11.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so nice. You
10
guys
10
should
years
start
old.
getting back into the paranormal. Like, have a guys' weekend and take a haunted location that you're interested in going, and then just go. Like, before I even got involved with a paranormal group where I founded the paranormal team and I was writing the books, I used to go on weekend jaunts with girlfriends of mine. We would just pick a location and we'd pick a weekend and we'd go and spend the night and see if we could pick up ghosts. And that was just because we like to do it. So it can be a hobby, it can be a guy's weekend. You should get back
Yes.
into it again.
So for us, it's time or money.
Yeah.
If we have the time, we usually don't have the money, and if we have the money, we usually don't have the time.
Amen, brother.
It's just a vicious circle.
Yeah, I
It's
guess I could see
funny.
that. See, I'm fortunate in that though we do pay to go to some locations as a group, we do, because there are some really cool locations around. But because I do write these books, people come to me and say, I have a haunted house, or I have a haunted business. So those are places that we get to go to for nothing, because we're not charging them to come in and do an investigation, and they're happy that we're coming. And then sometimes we get a popular location like the Sterling Hill Mines. That one time I just kind of, that fell into my lap, and I spoke to the president. He was like, sure, come on. I don't know why this is happening. I can't explain it, but I would love for you to come. And that's how we went in there. And we're actually going back there again, which I'm very excited about, because
Nice.
it was such a great investigation. It's a very active place. So I'm really looking forward to going back there. But it's nice to be able to go to places and not have to pay for it. So
For
So,
sure.
speaking of going places and not having to pay for it, are you going to Podfest this year? Because
Mm.
Buzzsprout paid for our tickets to go, and it'll be our first year at Podfest.
oh, how exciting. Where is Podfest?
It's in the Renaissance Orlando Hotel in SeaWorld in Florida. That's going to be on the
Oh, how
26th,
exciting.
27th, 28th, and 29th.
Wow. Well, you'll have to let me know how it goes, because no, I'm not going.
Yeah,
I actually
we
went
will.
to my first Paracon
Yeah?
in when was it? It was October. It was in Sleepy Hollow, New York. And it was the first one I'd ever gone to. And it was the first one they ever held there. So a lot of people don't like to go to a Paracon when it's the first time in a place that it's never been before. But I didn't know that. So I went. And as far as making connections was concerned and meeting people, it was unbelievable. I mean, I made so many contacts and exchanged so many business cards, and I'm still talking to most of those people that I met
Nice.
on Facebook and in like little paranormal chats and stuff. So
That's
for
cool.
that reason alone, it was worth the effort, because this is all about making contacts, right?
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, it's funny that all this happened and they reach out to us, and was like, hey, we want to pay for your tickets to go, because I had literally just placed the order for actually these shirts. Like, mine has it embroidered that says host of the Tavern Podcast, and he's got one that says co-host, and on the back we have see if you can see this.
Duck down a little bit. There you go. It's got our QR code on it.
I love that.
Literally
That's
a big walking
great.
advertisement.
Yeah, that's great. I love it.
But it was
We're
funny.
hoping that
I
we're
had
going to be
just
unique.
placed the order for that, and then they're like, "We want to buy your tickets to go," and I'm like, "The perfect time to use it."
That's exciting.
So, Landon, I think it is that time for your world famous question. Now, Landon has this question that he asks everybody at the end of our show, and I don't want to catch you off guard, so I'm prepping you for it. It is the question.
Okay.
It
Landon,
usually
take it away.
it usually catches everybody. So Um, what is one question you wish we would have asked you, and how would you have answered that question?
Did you ask the question? Because I didn't hear anything.
Oh,
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. What is one question you wish we would have asked you, and then how would you have answered that question?
What's one question I wish you would have asked me?
That is correct.
Um, oh my goodness, that really is catching me off guard.
right? It always
One
does.
question.
I really think it's the
Oh my
greatest question of
God.
all time.
We get some really strange questions and answers, and it always tells you more about your guest. It's a great question, I think.
I guess it's where I'm originally from, because a lot of people hear an accent in my voice, and usually they could pick it out and tell me exactly where I am from. But
I was going to say
I've
Maryland.
lived. You're going to say Maryland?
Uh-huh.
What about you, Landon?
Oh, I would have put you in somewhere around Jersey.
Okay, well, I live in Jersey now, but get me really mad and you'll hear the Bronx come out. Okay?
The Bronx. There you
Because
go.
I'm from the Bronx. I grew up in New York. Can you hear it now?
Yep.
I got it. Yeah.
So, but I lived most of my life now in Jersey because I grew up in the Bronx. Yeah, but when my husband and I got married, we moved to Jersey, and we've been here for over 30 years now. So,
Okay.
Makes sense.
I guess I'm a Jersey girl considered now.
Yeah.
You've been there long enough. You're honorary Jersey girl now.
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, I want to take a moment and just say thank you so much for coming on our show. Thank you for sharing all of those amazing stories with us and those moments that you've experienced. Do you have any closing words for our audience tonight?
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. But I think you kind of covered it when you said what I feel is so important about working with spirit is that respect. And I think that that's what I want to leave the audience with, that if you really are going to get involved in paranormal investigating, please respect spirit. They were humans in life and they have feelings, believe it or not. So imagine being in their position, trying to get somebody's attention because they want to say something, and they keep on trying and people can't hear them. So it must be very frustrating to be in that position. So yeah, so I guess that's what I'd like to leave everybody with.
That's powerful. I never looked at it from that perspective. Landon, you got any closing words for our audience tonight, sir?
Miss Eleanor, just like Brandon said, I want to thank you for being on the show tonight. And it's always inspiring talking to paranormal investigators and stuff like that. I love what you do, and thank you for doing it. To our audience, I say, hey guys, thanks for listening. We love you. We hope you watch our streams. We don't do this for free.
We do actually.
That's where I was going. That's what I was saying. We actually do it for free, so you're welcome. But keep on keeping on, guys. We're just out here doing this for you. So.
All right. Well, as always, thanks for stopping by the tavern.